What's up? Welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with my reaction to the Oscars, the 95th Academy Awards, recording this right after the Oscars ended on Sunday night. And I'm going to go through the winners and the key takeaways from, I think, a really successful Oscars ceremony. So I'm just going to get right into that. And make sure you come back next week where I'm going to do my early 2024 Oscar prediction. So check that out, youtube.com/nostalgiapod. All right, so the Oscars on Sunday night. I think they went really well. Jimmy Kimmel was hosting with the show back on ABC. I think he did a pretty good job. The opening monologue was really funny. There's like just enough like Kimmel bite as the comic that he is that I thought it was pretty enjoyable. That monologue went well. And then we kind of just ripped right into it, right? Like this was the first Oscars telecast that actually had like professional TV producers running the show, and I think it showed because it moved well. Obviously, it's going to be long. And they basically made a joke about that. Hey, if you're watching the Oscars, you like this stuff, it's going to be long. You're there to watch people give speeches. Yes, maybe some of the Kimmel bits, the host bits, make it longer than maybe you feel it needs to. I think it is what it is. It went pretty well. But the key takeaway with this Oscars is the strength of Everything Everywhere All at Once as a Oscar juggernaut was validated with 7 wins in total on the night, the most wins since Gravity won 9 times back, 9 years ago, and the most wins for a Best Picture winner since Slumdog Millionaire won more 14 years ago. On top of that, A24, the studio, due to all the Everything Everywhere wins at the top, as well as Brendan Fraser's Best Actor win for The Whale, swept the top 6 awards. A24 swept the top 6: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress. That top 6. That has never been done by a studio before. That is the most a studio has ever won in the history of the award. Just think about, about a decade ago, how people talked about A24 as this independent studio taking chances on filmmakers, but trying to make inspired and interesting and good movies, backed by, having venture capital, all this investment, the story of A24 and the hype, and the film bro and the letterbox community, everything culminating with A24 for years and the hype and the expectation. Do they make enough money as a studio? Blah, blah, blah. Look, think about what just happened with A24 sweeping the top 6, something that Warner Brothers and Paramount and Universal and everyone else has never done. I think it is a incredibly fulfilling and cool thing that just happened with A24 pulling this off in the film for the film industry. And just think about like what this decade will mean moving forward. Not too long ago, 2019 Oscars for 20, in 2020, Parasite won a neon film in their small studio. It's really cool to see what's happening. But I mean, I think you just have to tip your hat to A24 that they were able to do what they've done. A24 won a Best Picture trophy before Netflix did. And we know some of the movies Netflix has had there, with Irishman and Roma and Power of the Dog and uh, now All Quiet on the Western Front. The list goes on. You know, it's uh it's really cool. And obviously A24 has a great track record of making movies, so I think it's really well earned and really cool. So yeah, I mean, just going through what happened, I think it was really interesting and started to, I think, make people's spidey sense ting a little bit when we saw All Quiet on the Western Front start to win down ballot awards, which was expected to a degree, but then it started to win awards it wasn't expected to win, such as Best Original Score. My ears started to perk up. I was getting to feel, oh, if there was an upset in Best Picture, it was probably going to be All Quiet. That's how people started to feel. I talked about that in my predictions last week. That is, the international uh, membership of the Academy really contributing to this. It might have been possible, and God, it would have been a disaster if All Quiet on the Western Front won Best Picture. Not that the movie is bad, but more so that just like what that win means would very much feel old Hollywood and wouldn't feel fresh, and just the meaning and the passion that Everything Everywhere has as a film, as a movement, just moves people in a way that All Quiet doesn't. And when All Quiet was winning all those awards, you had, of course, the orchestra playing a little sound when they won, of course, from the movie. And it was like that dun dun. It was like a very like ominous sound. It was like actually really funny. It was like it's like marching us to slaughter, like in the war. It was like, oh no, is the unthinkable going to happen? But of course, it didn't happen. We started to see that peter off when best sound went to Top Gun Maverick, visual effects went to Avatar, directors went to the Daniels. Like, okay, no, it's basically the comp here would be Mad Max Fury Road winning a ton of stuff on the down ballot, but not winning Best Picture, and Spotlight winning Best Picture. That's the actual comp. But in the moment, it was that suspenseful. And I would say like normally it would be fun to have more suspense and less certainty with Oscar awards, full stop. In this case, though, I was not happy about this potential spoiler because I'd rather the choice be like Everything Everywhere versus Banshees of Inisherin, movie that or Fableman's movie that has like a ton of passion for them, right? All Quiet is not on that level for me. Um, that being said, happy with how everything went. Just going through the awards overall, I won 15-5 with my picks. Pretty happy about that. The awards I got wrong, I think, are nothing too crazy. I got Doc wrong. I picked Fire of Love. That went to Novani, but I had to acknowledge that was between the two, and probably should have went with Nelvani. It's kind of makes sense as a pick. Costume design, I genuinely got wrong. That went to Ruth Carter for Black Panther 2, who she also won for Black Panther 1. She's like the costume designing goat. Great win for her. She becomes the first two-time female black winner, which is crazy and awesome. I had picked Everything Everywhere for costume design, and a lot of people were thinking it might be Elvis, but that was a bit of a surprise overall that Black Panther 2 got that one. Production design, I picked Avatar, and it went to All Quiet, and I should have just picked All Quiet. I should have read that vibe better. I was perhaps projecting a little bit when I put that on Avatar. Score, I picked Justin Hurwitz for Babylon. So did everyone, and that was one of the key All Quiet upsets and surprises. Um, so yeah, I didn't really see that one coming. And then actor, I picked Austin Butler. It went to Brendan Fraser. I think like everyone, that was like a 51-49 type vote. It was incredibly close. Um, Not a shock. It was really down between one of those two. Picked the wrong guy. Uh, I think part of the reason I picked that is Brendan Fraser becomes the first Best Actor winner since Jeff Bridges in 2008 to win Best Actor without his film, though this time The Whale, being nominated for Best Picture. So there's a lot of history going against Brendan Fraser. That being said, even though I had picked Butler, really cool to see Fraser get that win and complete this A24 like mega sweep out of nowhere, and also like that parody of Kiki Kwan and Brendan Fraser both winning, you know, and the friendship they've had on the award circuit thus far. It's a good narrative, and I think we all of us expect Austin Butler to be back later, and he's got a lot of time to do that, so nothing to worry about there. But yeah, I think a lot of stuff overall went pretty much as expected, right? Supporting actor went to Kwan, duh. Adapted screenplay went to Women Talking. Original screenplay went to Everything Everywhere. Cinematography went to All Quiet. Sound went to Top Gun. Editing went to Everything Everywhere. Makeup and hairstyling went to The Whale, which I picked correctly. I think a lot of people were picking Elvis with that one, so I was happy to get that one right because I was a little bit off where like the lines were sitting. International feature film obviously went to All Quiet. Original song went to Not to Not to. Visual effects went to Avatar. Uh, Best actress went to Michelle Yeoh. Of course, Yeoh versus Blanchett was the fight all year. Definitely was a close vote. I picked Yeoh. It felt like that's the way it was going, and honestly, it's the best narrative for the night that Yeoh wins. Of course, Kate Blanchett, her legacy is already secure. She already has two Oscar wins as well. It's okay, and really happy for Yeoh. It was a lovely speech. Um, Supporting actress, I got it right. It was Jamie Lee Curtis, but that was one that was really hard to be confident in. You could tell Angela Bassett wasn't too pleased when she didn't win. She was definitely was bummed and pissed. You could see it on her face. She didn't get up to clap what everyone else did, which is her right, of course. But yeah, I think if anything, like I saw a bit of a backlash to that online, and I think not everyone is in the know. Someone like me is really paying attention to this, right? So some people that really throws them off. Jamie Lee Curtis wins her Best Supporting Actress. She's not even the Best Supporting Actress in her own movie, which I would agree with. If anything, Stephanie Shu should have been the winner, and would have been my pick. And Carrie Condon was really good as well, whereas Bassett and Jamie Lee Curtis are both more of a career achievement, legacy acknowledgement, which is fine in its own regard, but it's probably the least inspiring of the acting wins. That being said, Curtis, for being a genre scream queen actor all her life, to then get an acting win in a genre movie, it's pretty cool. and atypical as far as the Academy goes. So I'm not like too mad about it, all things considered. And I'll be rooting for Stephanie Shu in the future. In the course of this run here, um, if you think about like the Best Picture nominees, each five Best Picture nominees got a win. Everything Everywhere, All Quiet, Women Talking, Top Gun, Avatar, and then five did not get a win: Tar, Banshees, Triangle of Sadness, Elvis, and The Fablemans. Um, Nothing too shocking apart from Elvis. I thought Elvis for sure was going to get something down the ballot. It was just favored in so many categories, and it picked up a lot of precursors throughout. So that's probably the big shock there. Banshees getting blanked doesn't surprise me. Same thing with Tar. I kind of was feeling that was quite possible. Fablemans as well. You just look at the races. All Quiet on the Western Front was gobbling up a lot of these down ballot awards with Elvis seemingly right in the mix, even though it didn't end up winning any of them. So that's how it goes. That being said, five films getting wins, pretty good. Given that we just had a five Best Picture films when getting wins, pretty good considering you had a rare dominant Best Picture night, which again we haven't had in a long time. I think for comparison, Paris it won like four Oscars. It hasn't been like this in a while. Um, yeah, I think overall, I was really happy with how it went. One thing I noted in the in memoriam, which I thought Lenny Kravitz did a nice job with, they didn't include Charlie Dean, who, not like she was like a Hollywood legend or anything, but she did tragically pass away suddenly, and she is the star of one of the Best Picture nominees, Triangle of Sadness. Seems like a pretty glaring omission for the in memoriam segment, if you ask me. Tough stuff there. Yeah, uh, I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot more to say. I feel really good about how this went. Animated feature went to Guillermo del Toro. That was the first award of the night. Actually, that was a lock. We knew that. I think that's everything. Yeah. I guess it was kind of garish to get the Little Mermaid trailer. And I was like, hey, the Oscars are on ABC this year. Disney has a big movie coming out in 2 months. Here's an ad for it. It's like, that's a bit annoying. And apparently that didn't even happen like overseas. That was just on the US broadcast. Later on, though, you get the montage of like, hey, look, 100 years of Warner Brothers. Look at all these Warner Brothers clips. I don't necessarily have a problem with like the studio clips as long as like multiple studios like get equal time per se. It's not clearly like advertising for the one network. On the other hand, it's like, hey, like if the show's going to be super long, and that's like the compromise that the network makes you make, it's not the worst thing in the world. Like we're going to have the commercials, so it didn't necessarily bother me because like this at the end of the day, this is going to be a celebration of movies, and people like trailers. Trailers are advertisements for the future of movies, so I don't find it nearly as offensive and self-serving as others do. Although I do see the point. I think if you just handle it in a certain way and let multiple studios promote, and not just like next time the Oscars are on NBC, it's only Universal trailers or something. As long as it's not something so obvious like that, I think it's fine. I like the Warner Brothers montage. We got acting clips for every acting nominee. We got extended Best Picture movie clips throughout the broadcast. These are obvious things that have been omitted in the recent past to try and switch out the broadcast and save time. The clips are good. I'm glad they were back. We like the clips. Um, Donnie Yen was there as a presenter, kind of surprisingly. I know John Wick 4 is coming out. He's in that, but still, he's not like super involved in Hollywood usually. So that was a nice nod and cool. And if we had a best stunt performance, best stunt ensemble Oscar, maybe you could have Donnie in there more often, right? Novel idea, I think. Um, yeah. What else? The Irish joke from Kimmel I thought was really funny. The Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Steven Spielberg, Seth Rogen joke was really funny. I thought Kimmel handled the Will Smith, Chris Rock slap of it all really well. He made some funny jokes about it, but kept it moving. Um, I like that Kimmel mentioned right off the bat Till and the Woman King, which were largely accepted as Best Actress snubs this year. He made a funny Batgirl joke. He made a female director joke at James Cameron's expense, and then noted that James Cameron and Tom Cruise were not there at the Oscars, which I think is really bush league, honestly. Like Avatar won Best Visual Effects. Those guys who won that Oscar spent years of their lives on these visual effects. James, at least you could be there to clap, bro. I know you didn't get nominated for Best Director, but still. And Tom Cruise, and he's a producer of Avatar, so he's still nominated, right? Same thing with Cruise in Top Gun. He's not nominated for actor, but he's nominated as producer. Those guys who won Best Sound for Top Gun, it would be nice if you were there. And Tom would have been in the front row. Tom would have been a presenter and got a huge ovation anyway. It just kind of speaks to how weird Tom is. I think it speaks to like the big ego James Cameron clearly has. That I think was just weak moves on both their parts to not be there. After it's been a celebration of those two guys and their accomplishments this whole award season, this whole movie year. To not show up at the end here, it's just kind of weak to me. Not a fan. Um, yeah. I like Rogan. He mentioned some other stuff, right? He mentioned John Williams in the crowd, noting that he's the oldest nominee ever. I think that was nice because like it was clear that John Williams was not going to win, for score. So like it just made sense to fit that in somewhere. James Hong from Everything Everywhere All at Once as a long time acting legend who's not nominated individually, but just nominated as part of the Everything Everywhere ensemble. Really cool to shout him out in a brief moment and put some shine on someone who doesn't have a direct award nomination themselves. I really enjoyed that. Um, yeah, Ki Kwan's energy, his reaction shots, his so passionate and emotional speech. I think there's a lot of like teary-eyed moments. I definitely was feeling the emotions on this. Stephanie Shu seemed to be crying almost all the time, and she's been doing that all year in the award season. It's really I think moving and touching because it just feels so genuine. And I think that's what's really fun about Everything Everywhere as a Best Picture winner is just how genuine the passion and love for this movie is. And again, it was my number one movie of 2022. Talked about this at length at this point. It's really fun that like a completely off the wall genre movie was this accepted and this, for so long. And what's also another precedent to throw out now is Everything Everywhere All at Once came out a year ago. It came out in March 2022. Talk about that campaign and that passion being sustained for so long. Again, hats off to A24 for doing the damn thing the way they did with so much working against them. But let me know, how'd you feel about the Oscars? Did these wins go your way? A lot of these were expected, a few things weren't. What were you rooting for? And make sure you subscribe and come back next week for my early 2024 Oscar predictions. And for more movie reviews, more Oscar talks, more award shows as well, Emmys and Grammys. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time.